What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Though Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back. I was trying to figure out a few technical difficulties that I was having earlier. We are back. I want to just come back and correct my mistakes from earlier. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out this new software I got that's not that I'm still trying to figure out with my picture in picture. Normally I use my own picture in picture, but I've been, like I said, I'm using this new format that I'm still learning on the fly. But we're going to be talking about the shootings and killings that's been going on since the start of 4th of July. And I have video from Street TV that I'm going to be playing to show you guys that I want to show earlier. So I have that queued up. So I'm going to get that together. So give me 1 second. I'm going to wait for a few more people to come back in. I'm just trying to get everything set. And I think this is old. So let me make sure you guys can hear me. I don't know if this is live or this is now. Okay, so this is live, I think. No, that's not. So, but yeah, we're definitely going to be going live tonight. We're going to be discussing this, on the channel. Okay, so let me make sure everybody can hear me. Okay, so let me make sure everybody can hear me. Okay, so I can be heard. Okay, so all right, so I am back. And I'm just trying to make sure that you guys that I was able to be heard, and I want to make sure that you guys can see the video. And I just want to give you guys a glance of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So give me 1 second. I'm going to get this all set up with my screen and try to get this played from the beginning. So here we go. Let me get myself back in the screen. Hold on, give me one. And I'll start.
Is continuing to run this race to see who could be the most violent city in America, right? They have this thing now where they want to do these mass shootings where if you have beef, we just go shoot 23 people and don't even hit the intended targets at times. Sometimes we get them, but we may unalive our intended target, but while we unalive him and his homeboy, we hit 15 other people. Well, over the weekend, right before 4th of July weekend came, 18 people were injured in Chicago, right? And this is something that went all across the country, and everybody was talking about it. Because whenever something happening in Chicago, it gets mainstream news. They talk about it all the time. What about black on black crime in Chicago? Chicago. But then you have Philadelphia, and last year, Philadelphia murder rate dropped by 40%. It dropped significantly, right? It went from
hold on, and I want to say fair use. I'm using this for educational, entertaining purposes.
Right? You're starting to have
so fair use
shootings all over the city. But let's revisit what happened in Chicago first, right? Where there was a shooting and 18 people were shot, 4 unalive, where a young girl was rapping. And she was, I guess, doing her album release party, whatever it was, but her boyfriend ended up getting killed, unalive, and 2 of her girlfriends. Check it out.
Ever wondered what your home looks like from space? Enter your address and get a 360-degree satellite view of your home right now.
Good evening, I'm Micah Mater.
And I'm Mike Lowe, in for Ray Cortopassi.
Chicago police are reviewing video and speaking with witnesses following a drive-by shooting in River North. 4 people are dead, 14 others injured.
WGN's Courtney Spinelli is at Northwestern Memorial Hospital with details on the investigation.
And all this stuff has been going on since the start of 4th of July.
A scene witnesses say looked like a war zone, something out of a movie unfolding in the city's River North neighborhood late Wednesday night.
Absolute chaos from people screaming, blood on the streets.
Just after 11, Chicago police say at least 1, if not more, gunmen opened fire from a passing car into a crowd of people leaving a space rented out for an event.
I noticed the the police officers were running to the ambulance, and he had the young lady on his shoulder.
Chicago police officers rushed to get victims to area hospitals, many not waiting until backup got there. The victims ranged from their early 20s to early 30s.
Is open. You guys can definitely respond. I can respond back to you through your comments in the chat. So, and we're talking about the gun violence that's been happening since the start of 4th of July throughout the country.
To talk safety ahead of the holiday weekend, but all eyes were on the mass shooting that claimed 4 lives.
We are frustrated, but we are also grieving. We will not rest until there is full accountability.
They didn't care who was struck. And in a matter of seconds, they were able to shoot 18 people.
Police say they recovered 2 different types of shell casings, meaning there may have been more than one shooter. The victims were in a crowd leaving the newly opened Artis restaurant and lounge where a release party was held for Chicago rapper Mellow Bucks.
This wasn't some random shooting where someone just decided that they were going to shoot at this particular group of people. Obviously, there's a motive there.
Detectives are working to find out what that is and investigating the possibility this is gang related. Police sources tell WGN that at least part of this shooting was caught on city pod cameras right where this all happened. We also heard from the mayor and superintendent offering their condolences this afternoon during that press conference. Outside Northwestern Hospital, Courtney Spinelli, WGN News.
Our thanks to Courtney. The medical examiner has now released the names of all 4 victims who were killed. They are 25-year-old Leon Henry, 27-year-old Aviance King, 26-year-old Taylor Walker, and 23-year-old Devontae Terrell Williamson. Several of their families telling us tonight that they are still in shock and not ready to talk about the tragedy.
But then we get to Philadelphia, and it seemed like they were running a race because behind that,
this is what I want you guys to see.
We had a mass shooting where 8 people were shot. Right? Check this out.
With breaking news out of South Philadelphia, that is where a mass shooting broke out early this morning. Ellen Kaloje is live now at the scene. And Ellen, I mean, such a tragedy this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Good morning, everyone. So a little bit of good news in all this. I just spoke to a few police officers, and they say they got the original number incorrect. They originally said they thought 11 people were shot in this mass shooting, but they've downgraded that number to 8. So if anything, just a little bit of positive news in this terrible shooting that happened just before 4 o'clock this morning. Let's get right to that video. It all happened at this bar called 7 Elements just before 4 o'clock this morning. It's on the 1100 block of South 11th Street. Again, at a place called 7 Elements. The door, police say, was locked. So police say they had to break it down when they arrived. And once inside, they say they found the shell casings, several shell casings on the 2nd floor, on the stairwell, and in the parking lot, a chaotic scene where people had been running in all directions. They found 3 people shot. Those 3 immediately taken to local hospitals. 5 more checked themselves into area hospitals. So again, 8 in total. A security guard was shot in the face and a woman in the back, both in critical condition right now. The other were all shot in various parts of their bodies. And we talked to a neighbor who says he cannot believe this happened on the 4th of July.
Yeah, I hear stuff going
on. I'm gonna say I don't know why, because like I said in
I
my
thought it was
earlier
fireworks all night long. We heard fireworks
live that I went,
and then I did hear some ambulance, but
I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. Most people
the corner, so I hear it anyways a lot. I couldn't believe it because I'm right here. I live right there. How could that happen so close to me?
The 4th of July is the start of all the.
So that gentleman says he's been here for about 3 years and he's seen a lot of trouble.
You can get away with gunplay under the disguise of fireworks, is what I'm trying to say.
Cannot believe that this happened.
That's what goes on, and that's why the gun violence is up. That's why you've been getting a lot of shootings because a lot of people mistake this gunplay and this gunfire that we hear throughout the neighborhoods during the 4th of July for fireworks.
They're going through surveillance video, they tell me, and also a lot of evidence inside. They say there's a lot of evidence, including money,
these type of people go out and try to, go on their little crime and murder sprees during the start of 4th of July. Because like I said, a lot of people mistaking these fireworks for, the gunplay for fireworks.
Following this story the rest of the day. Back to you.
Now, Chicago, they did their numbers for after the 4th of July weekend where over 44 people were shot, right? 44. And this is the thing that I want to say. You know, for years I've been doing videos, and I had a series called Death to the Real N-Word, and it wasn't about unaliving nobody. It was
And I want to give a shout out to
unaliving that
Street
N-word
Media
inside your
TV.
mind.
He's breaking everything down. I want to give him credit for this video. I just
and
want
you
to
perpetuate
show
that
you
type of
guys
behavior onto your brothers
the
and
start
sisters,
of
your
this
own people
violence since
within the
the
community.
start of the
You
4th
are
of
a
July.
terrorist within your own community, right? And you terrorizing your own people, and then it's that W man that's that's the judge sitting up on that thing that's gonna put you away for the rest of your life for unaliving your own people, right? So let's look at what they said with Chicago for a minute. Check it out.
CPD a few minutes ago just released the department's official numbers for the weekend. 44 people shot, 7 of those people were killed. There was also a fatal stabbing and a fatal beating. Now, those figures suggest this may have been the least violent July 4th weekend in years. A couple of the weekend incidents were incidents with multiple victims. In the final hours of the holiday weekend, police responded to 2 shootings that happened at about the same time in Austin. They found 2 men wounded in an alley near Ferdinand and Laramie at about 10:30 Sunday night. One of the men, a 27-year-old, had been shot in the face and was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in critical condition. At Laurel and Madison, a man told police he was shot in the thigh when he stepped outside and someone started shooting in his direction. Investigators found shell casings in the street,
that's
in the
crazy.
grass.
You can't even,
A
be
silver
at your own
sedan
place,
riddled
your
with
own
bullet
home, around your
holes, the
family.
vehicle's back windshield shattered.
And this is a time where, people come together to
Earlier in the
celebrate
weekend,
and have a good
7
time. And you
people were
can't even
shot
do
during
that,
a July 4th
without,
celebration in the
people
back
trying
of
to
the
ruin
yards.
your 4th of
Police
July.
said 2 men walked up to the crowd gathered at 48th and Justine late Friday night and opened fire. 2 of the victims suffered critical injuries. Early Saturday, 4 men were wounded in a drive-by in Little Village. They were in a car at 27th and California near the Cook County Criminal Courts building. Police say the shots came from someone in a dark color SUV. The victims showed up at Mount Sinai Hospital. 3 of them had been shot multiple times.
Let this soft mineral melt in your mouth to rebuild your gums and teeth, and never need a dentist again. People are fixing their receding gums.
So once again, the Chicago police reporting a total of 44 people shot over this holiday weekend. Compare that to 109 people shot, 19 of those people killed during last July 4th weekend. But
And that's crazy. She's saying the killings are down from last year, to this year. That's
35th and
still
Michigan. Judy
ridiculous.
Wang, WGN.
It's been.
But then we get to Philly. Last night alone, like, so Chicago had 44 shootings. Last night alone, the last night of the weekend, 17 people were shot in Philadelphia. Just that one night. I ain't talking about all the other nights throughout the weekend. 17 people were shot. There was another mass shooting where 13 people were shot last night and 3 unalived, right? But we also had a shoot where a 15-year-old was shot and thrown from a moving car, right?
Yeah, that's
and this
crazy.
is something that happens all the time here in Philadelphia. But this is the question that I have, right? This is the question that I have. You have, when presidents is when people are running for office, whether it's the president, whether it's the state office or local office, they put billboards, they have commercials, they put signs up everywhere, right? They let you know what they're running for. They spend money, right, to garner your attention for you to come out and vote.
Right.
Or they want you to buy an album. They do promotions. They have promotional stuff, right, before the album come out, right? And they promote this music to you. They promote a culture to you. Anything that you're doing, right? This is the question I have. We always gonna have crime in America. You're gonna have shootings. You're gonna have things. But now with these mass shootings that's occurring all over America, when do we start doing things where we're putting out commercial promos? And you have not just the police speaking, but not just the nonprofit organizations speaking like us, but also these record labels, these rappers, inside the churches. Everywhere you go, there should be something being said about these mass shootings and about how uncool it is. We have to do something to get into the minds of these youth to alter their way of thinking, to let them know that this is not okay.
He's absolutely right. And these are things that, let me get back in there. these are things that, you know, I've talked about on my show, you know, how the violence and the gun violence is portrayed in the Black community, how it's pretty much what's the word that I'm looking for? It's praised. You know what I mean? And these are not issues that's spoken about, you know, to our youth. You know what I mean? So they go out, they see what they see on social media and TV and want to go out and portray this. You know, I did a show about is it time to, you know, withdraw our youth from listening to this drill rap music, gangster music, you know what I mean? In Chicago, and you wonder why Chicago is probably the leading state, you know, with all these shooting and killings that's been going on, you know, within the last, you know, 5-6 years, you know what I mean? So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. You know, is it time for, you know, us to stop allowing our children to listen to this type of music, because this type of music is nothing but putting negative thoughts and things into their head, and they go out and try to portray this shit that they listen to. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go on ahead and hit play and let you guys finish listening to this. I just want to just speak that piece on that. So give me 1 second.
Obviously, they're not thinking that way because it keeps happening in cities all across America. But when do these executives and all these people come out now and spend money and make promotional videos going against this, talking down against it?
Never. You'll never see that, you know, because this is how they make their money. You know, I agree. We're going to talk about this tonight too.
Where it seems like nobody cares. You have these mass shootings, people get unalive, they scoop the body up, and we just go on about our business as if this is normal. But y'all don't believe me? Check this out.
You know, but it's not normal in a white community.
17 people have been shot in the Philadelphia area, 2 different locations. We'll start with this one. 3 people are dead and 13 injured in a mass shooting in South Philly. At least one of the victims is a child.
It could be more. Let's get right out to Greg.
Yeah, no, Mike and Karen, it's been, excuse me, quite the wild scene. And let me tell you, I mean, we've been talking all morning. I've been saying that I've seen 69 of those markers in place, but we've moved a little bit, and because of daylight, you can see that there is 77 that we currently see now. There could be even more on that porch, but just look at that porch and the amount of markings that are on there. It just puts it into perspective of how many bullets were flying in this situation, which police believe that this was an exchange of gunfire.
You know,
now, police say just before 1 a.m. they received reports of gunfire on the 1500 block of South Edding Street
out there,
in Grace Ferry. Now, authorities say 3 people were killed and 10 others injured by gunfire.
At each other.
About 8 of those victims were transported by ambulance, with a couple of victims being transported privately to the hospital. Authorities say the majority of the shooting victims were adults, and a couple being juveniles. No juveniles were killed in this shooting. Commissioner Bethel says police were called to this area previously over the weekend after some complaints, and even made an arrest during one of the incidents. During those situations, police say there was a large amount of people on the block, and they believe during this shooting there was more than 40 people. Commissioner Bethel says despite the large amount of violence over the weekend, it will still not stop their mission of trying to keep Philadelphia safe.
Unfortunately, we had a group of individuals
out
here around
12:56. Be outside enjoying the 4th of July.
They respond to the
you know, with your
location.
family and friends,
And
and that's what, you know, the 4th of July is supposed to be about. You know, out celebrating, you know, independence, just having a good time with your family and friends.
2 juveniles who were shot. So we're working through this process now. It'll be a lengthy investigation, and you know, as we recover, we have numerous rounds that were shot on the block.
Yeah, and police say they are talking with a person who was injured and armed to try and see what their involvement was in this incident. But Karen and Mike, I mean, as the hours continue going on by, it just continues to get more and more active in regards to the markers that you're seeing. Greg Gilroy, he had mentioned to me that he had saw one of the investigators actually take a marker off of one of the vehicles. So, I mean, bullets were flying left and right all over the place, and you can just see it based on seeing this live shot in regards to the amount of activity that was happening overnight. It's pretty astonishing to see, guys.
Absolutely. And we have another shooting to tell you about now, 606.
You mentioned it off the top. 4 more people shot. This is, again, just hours ago. New overnight. This is in Southwest Philadelphia, right around 2:30 in the morning between South 62nd Street and Vine Street. Police say 3 adults were shot and taken to the hospital. And then also a child, a teenager, a 4th victim. Investigators say 3 of the victims are in stable condition and 1 of them is in critical condition.
As you know, Nubia gives you your final permanent teeth in 24 hours. In the old way, you would get.
We begin with breaking news. A teen boy fatally shot and thrown out of a car in northeast Philadelphia. Police tell us the 15-year-old was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds in an alleyway along the 6300 block of Revere Street. This was just after 6 tonight. A witness telling police a sedan, possibly white, pulled into the driveway and pushed the teen out of the car before taking off. And shortly after that shooting, we learned that an 18-year-old woman had been shot in a road rage shooting on Roosevelt Boulevard in Bustleton. Police say the woman was shot in the shoulder. This is the 11 o'clock news. I'm Sheba Russell. We want to get straight out to our Steve Keeley. And Steve, a busy night for you and police. What can you tell us?
Well, I just spoke to a veteran detective, and he says we both have seen so many road rage cases in our careers. This is the most outrageous one. It's more of a parking lot rage. So we're outside the Walmart. Show them the Walmart. This is how close we are to the front doors. And two guys.
And all this stuff has been happening in Northeast Philadelphia since the start of 4th of July.
He's got an 18-year-old woman with him in the front seat and 3 little
like I
kids
said,
in the
tonight
back.
we're definitely going to have a conversation,
four-door
about the
truck.
gun violence that goes on,
show his face, but he's in the back of this car. He's got a graze wound to his head. He's the driver and owner of the red Chevy pickup. He's backing his truck in, and you can see, look, he didn't even go over the white line, but the guy in
this
his
was a
gray
family
Jeep
of
thought he
5
was
that was
parking
sitting
too
in
close
this
to
car
his
when
nice gray
this
Jeep.
situation
So they get into an
happened.
argument. And both of these guys have guns. So according to police, this 37-year-old driver of this Jeep starts shooting into the windshield with this family of 5 in there. Fortunately, nobody's killed, but the worst hurt is this 18-year-old wounded in the shoulder, the female. She's at the hospital and stable. Now we're going to walk to the front of this man's Jeep. And this guy who was worried about a scratch on his Jeep somehow fired a gun when he was all upset through his own windshield, because you can see the glasses pushing out. And that's an evidence that it was coming from inside going out. So he fired a shot through his windshield.
So yeah, it's just
while he was all
just
upset.
gun violence, just
And
all
again,
over
this
the
is outside
country.
the Walmart. Now look
that
on the
makes
roof
no
of the
sense.
Walmart.
You got to
You've
be
got
careful.
cameras that capture
Even at Walmart when
then
you out
behind us
shopping
is my
with
man
your
Sean
family,
turns around. There's one of these mobile
during
cameras,
these
so there's so
times,
much surveillance of this.
of the year, I
And
should
these guys
say.
know they're under
in
surveillance.
general, period.
And as one cop said, everybody's got a gun and everybody's got a temper, and the two make a bad mix. Here's Chief Inspector Scott Small, who we just interviewed at the scene of the 15-year-old murder 55 minutes ago.
Yeah,
This is
everybody's
outrageous,
walking around with
detective just
guns.
said.
Everybody's packing. So a lot of people don't know how to handle, that power, being able to walk around with a firearm. With a CPA, everybody's walking around with them. So these are things that you learn. You learn patience. You learn how to de-escalate situations. A lot of people don't know how to de-escalate a situation. Everybody want to handle the situation with a gun, or with gun violence, I should say. So I'll get back to let these guys finish talking about this situation that's been happening here in Philadelphia since the start of 4th of July.
Windshield. How is the miracle that none of the kids are shot, the guy's only grazed, and nobody's killed? He's firing basically point blank into the windshield where there's a family of 5.
He's only firing from about 10, 15 feet away. Several bullets go through that front windshield. And we know that there's 5 individuals in that pickup truck, but 2 of them were struck. The 50-year-old driver.
So I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We're just talking about the violence that's been going on since the start of 4th of July. Definitely give me your comments. We're going to be discussing this tonight. We're going to have a live panel. We may do it on Zoom. If not, we're going to probably go live live here on
He didn't do
YouTube.
anything wrong. And this is right outside.
So give me a like,
there's a shootout, and this
like and share. Make sure you comment. Let me know. Have there still been a lot of gunshots going on in your neighborhood? Because like I said, the start of 4th of July, you get a lot of gunplay and you hear a lot of gunshots. Under the skies of
multiple
fireworks.
people walking in and out of the businesses in the parking lot, right where these shots were fired.
All right, Scott Small, thanks again. And Sheba, he's off to another shooting man shot.
43 people that was murdered
a couple of miles from here. So it's been one of those nights as we head into the 4th of July
in
weekend.
Philadelphia since the start of 4th of
I can already
July.
tell how
Or maybe I believe
exhausted you
that
are
night.
by all of these stories that you've been running to all day today, practically, Steve. All right. Hopefully it's quiet here on out. Steve Keeley, thank you.
Hey, we're staying on top of breaking news for you here this morning. This is out of Cobbs Creek, a deadly double shooting. Take a look at this video. This happened just before 1 o'clock this morning along Market Street. Police say somebody walked up to a car that had a man and woman inside and fired 16 times. The man was killed. The woman was rushed into surgery overnight. She was last listed in critical condition. So far, there have been no arrests. No arrests in this case either, after a deadly shooting in Northeast Philadelphia where a 15-year-old boy was shot and killed. This happened just before 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon near the intersection of Revere and Robin Street. Police say medics found him lying in a driveway with 3 gunshot wounds.
Just as many were celebrating the holiday, here's what's going on in part of North Philly. An intense shootout with police leaves one man dead and a neighborhood shaken. As CBS Philadelphia's Ray Strickland explains, it was a close call for several officers who were in the line of fire.
Fireworks lighting up the sky in the city's Fairfield
like I said, a lot of people
while families were out celebrating
here,
the holiday.
shooting and
nearby crime
unaliving
scene
people
tape
do it
blocked
under
off a
disguise
portion
of
of Lawrence
fireworks,
Street.
you know, so gotta
Investigated
be
the
careful
police
out here.
shooting
Even
that
now,
left
since the
one
4th of
man
July
dead.
is over, I
I
still
live
hear
right
a lot
around the
of
block,
fireworks,
being able to
going off, but
see
a lot
these
of that
stuff
shit is
happen,
gunplay.
especially on 4th of July, where it's family, where it's, friends hanging out, just celebrating. It's tough to see, especially that, somebody lost their life.
Philadelphia police say the shooting happened a little before 6 o'clock p.m. when officers were responding to a domestic violence call in the 2900 block of Lawrence Street. First Deputy John Stanford says when they got to the home, a 40-year-old man started shooting at officers and then jumped in a police car while the officers took cover.
They began to exchange gunfire with this individual. The male then enters the driver's side of the police vehicle, closes the door. What we believe is maybe about to try to take the police vehicle, at which point in time he continues to fire at the officers as they approach the vehicle. The officers continue to discharge. At one point in time, the male exits the vehicle and then goes to the ground.
This is the quickest way to flush swollen legs. Which one of these alcoholic beverages actually flushes out edema? All alcoholic drinks make
drinking. That's why you shouldn't mix drinking and having and firearms together,
Police are
during
searching
situations
for the
like
person
that.
who shot 3 people in Philadelphia's Cecil B. Moore neighborhood. Police say shots were fired just
and if
after
you notice,
1:30
look at all the
this morning
neighborhoods that,
at North
most of the
22nd
stuff
Street
is
and
happening
Edgley
in.
Street for reports. After reports of a large gathering at that location, we're told the victims were taken to the hospital and are now in stable condition.
So I'm in a city right now where the District Council 33 is on strike and over 9,000 workers are walked off their jobs. There's trash everywhere. Violence is rampant all throughout the town, right? A bunch of teenagers just unaliving each other everywhere. Girls, boys, everybody. It's pandemonium. Automatic gunfire is everywhere in the streets. You go to sleep at night, you wake up, 15 people shot. But I want to know.
Let me pause there. See what's going to happen. And he may say it before. That's going to bring out the National Guards. To come out. Showing that that the state cannot handle the citizens, and that they need help by the federal government. So here, I'm going ahead and pause that and get back.
The community gonna be upset when the W man come in with the National Guard and just lock everybody up. That's when everybody gonna want to say something. But I'm asking a lot of these young rappers and a lot of these athletes, entertainers, these owners of football, baseball teams in your local cities. When do we put money behind something specifically for this to say, yo, this ain't it. This ain't it. Some type of promotional things to go out to across the radio.
And I'm gonna pause
across
that,
social.
and when they don't, and they're not going to do that, because this is not what the record companies are paying them to do. They want them to continue to promote violence and gun violence. That's why you never see campaigns promoting trying to stop the shooting and unaliving that's been going on throughout, Chicago and Philadelphia and Detroit, for years, and you don't see these type of campaigns that he's talking about.
Media, these major platforms. When do we shun this behavior? When do we shun it? Because I don't see nobody shunning it. I'd like to know when.
Because there's no money out and getting
things
like this
sleep last
shun.
night when I woke up, 17 people were shot in my city. That was just Sunday.
Wow.
Y'all seen all the other ones from Thursday to Sunday. There's been it might have been about 50. It just went exploded and went crazy. But my thing is, it should be everybody's responsibility to fix this problem.
I agree.
And I see nothing. The same, like I said, when they running for mayor in your city, they put signs up everywhere. When do we start now getting control of this and start saying, listen, you mass shootings is uncool? Maybe, you know, I had a shirt, my shirt, urban nerds, not urban shooters. When do we create slogans and things to put out there to the point where it start getting onto the mouth of the youth and they start putting in their music to let them know that that's not cool? We gotta.
All right, so let me pause. I'm gonna pause this again. You know, over here at the What Up Though show, you know, we had a here. Let me get back to the so you guys can see my face. You know, we had a show about that. You know, is it time for us to discontinue our kids and our youth to listen to this gangster drill rap music? You know, because at the end of the day, it's hurting them more than it's helping them. You know, and we talked about that. You know, it's been time a long time ago, but the whole thing is these record companies that's paying these rappers, they're not paying them to speak positive, to talk about stop the gun violence and things like that. They're paying them to see the killings, the homicides throughout, and the devastations throughout the communities. So we're going to talk a lot more about that tonight. So give me 1 second. Let me hit play on that.
Tomorrow.
And
it's going to be your daughter tomorrow. Yeah, you out there. And a lot of you people out there that think I'm talking crazy, it'll be your daughter that gets shot in the face tomorrow by some YN up the block. So it's going to be up to y'all. It's going to be up to the community, man, because this thing is sad. You know, an OG at my age, I'm watching my children's generation unalive each other, but they're doing it at a rate now. And they're doing it like literally on Memorial Day weekend. We had another mass shooting where 11 people was hit and 3 unalive at a party. You can't go nowhere and get the group together because something's bad is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Right? I'm gonna pause. Let me pause this one more time.
At what point?
And all these shootings and murders and killings. Like, look, I've been covering this flood disaster that's been going on. These people have created more unalivings than the disaster that's been going on in Texas, that I've been covering for the last 2 days. It's out of control. Where do it stops? And like I said, we're going to talk about this tonight, and I guarantee you, I don't want to give a percentage, but I guarantee you at least 65 to 70%, of these youths are coming from single parent households. You know what I mean? No fathers in the house, to be able to give these young men and women, the guidance that they need, so they're taking it out, and what they only know, and that's gun violence, so it's a tragedy. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna get back to this. Pause that.
It is enough, and people get tired, right? At what point? So when do we start putting pressure on certain things? Because like I said, there's going to be crime in cities like Philadelphia, St. Louis, Chicago, Atlanta. But when you have these mass shootings, something that wasn't occurring like this,
and white people in these same states that he's mentioned,
y'all cool with this?
They keep
even in Chicago, even some of
you
so-called real inwards, y'all cool with this? You cool with your mom on her way from work and a straight bullet hit her in the neck or hit her? You cool with this, right? Y'all cool? This is the norm now? This is the norm. So, and this is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna cut this video short here, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it and come out next time. And stop that. Stop sharing, I should say. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this video. Shout out to Street Media TV. That was an excellent video that he put together showing, being able to show the world what's been going on throughout Chicago, what's been going on through Philadelphia, and it's just not in those two places. It's been going on here, in Detroit, and surrounding cities and states, so a lot of this stuff has to do with single households, and these are issues that we talk about over here at the What Up Doe Show. And like he mentioned, like Street TV mentioned, you don't see the governors, mayors, or any of the politicians, or even any of the rappers, or even these record companies that's out here, trying to counter this gun violence. You know what I mean? There's no campaign on trying to stop this violence in Chicago, Philadelphia, in these states. There was an incident that I'm probably going to be doing a story on maybe later on tonight, where you had 4 teens that were involved in some unaliving. It's crazy. It's all over the country. It's not just in these 2 particular states. It's everywhere. Like I said, the 4th of July normally starts off with the gun violence, because a lot of people mistaking or gunshots goes off under the disguise of fireworks. So you have to be careful during these times, during this time of year, in general, I should say. So yeah, like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about this particular topic, about gun violence, how it has gotten out of control, how no one's really talking about it, how no one's really trying to, make this mainstream talk, because it's our youth, it's our kids that's out here, being unalived and, out here just fucked up, so and you see where most of this violence is coming from. It's coming from the urban areas, single households, single parents households, I should say. So these are talks that we have to talk with our kids. T made a comment to Chucky777. What up, though? What's good? So tell me what you think about this gun violence that's been going on throughout the country. I don't know if you came in enough time to see, the clip that I just played, but the video I should say just played, but it displayed a lot of gun violence that's been going on throughout the country, especially in Philadelphia and Chicago. It's been ridiculous. There's been more unalivings this week than it has in these floodings that's been going out in Houston. So we're definitely going to be talking about that tonight. So I definitely want each and every one of you guys to join us. Give me your opinion on this topic, on this conversation. I definitely would like for you guys to join us. More than likely, depending on how many people is going to be. I want to do it here on YouTube Live, but YouTube doesn't allow multiple people to come in to be able to speak. So more than likely I'll probably end up doing it on Zoom. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to Street Media for the video that he put out there. It showed a perfect example of our youth and our young folks just being out of control. With the gun violence and what the start of 4th of July has brought to the urban communities. And it's out of control. So I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. We are getting close to our goals over here. We try to put out great content for you guys almost each and every day. So hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time we put out content. But yeah, it's been horrible since the start of 4th of July. Like I said, I've been watching the floods that's been going on in Texas, and a lot of this stuff came through my feed. I'm like, what the hell has been going on with all this, with this shooting and the unaliving, with our youth, so, like I said, we talked about situations like this on the show before. The music that they listen to, it's affecting them and it's influencing them in a negative way, and it's time for, a new wave of music. You know what I mean? We have to be able to get this shit up under control, because the youth is our future, right? And if most of our youth are out here involved in, this gunplay and this violence, what type of future will be for our youth? You know what I mean? So, I got a young one that got to grow up, and navigate through this society. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go on ahead and end the show. I just wanted to show you guys that video that Street Media TV brought, and like I said, it was a good video. He broke everything down. Well, not even broke it down. He just showed what was going on throughout the country. So we're going to be discussing this more tonight. Here on YouTube. If not, like I said, it'll be I'll give out the links where we're definitely going to be going live. T said the Chucky said, well, I believe his name is the Chucky 777. It's going to be it's been going on regularly since before the 4th. YNs just turn up more during holidays, and crime numbers show it. No, I agree. You know, it's been going on before the start of 4th of July. It's just been magnified and it's just amped up a little bit more. You know, I agree with you 100%. You know, and the main media really has not made it a priority to talk about, on the news. So, it's up to, us, some of the bloggers, who's on social media to talk about and bring these issues up, throughout the community. But I agree with you, the Chucky 7777. Yeah. Yep. So what part of the country are you in, the Chucky 777? But yeah, like I said, we're going to be discussing this later on tonight. Once I get once I figure out how many people is going to come on, I'll decide what media platform we're going to be discussing this topic. But more than likely, it's probably going to be, on Zoom if we have more than a few people that want to come in and discuss this topic, because YouTube right now is not allowing multiple people to come in, and talk. Only through the chat. Where people can come in and discuss. So they have to come up with a better system to be able to bring more people in, or unless I'm not, up on how to bring multiple people in on this platform. Yeah, but yeah, like I said again, I want to give a shout out to Street Media TV. He put out a great video, and to show what has been going on since the start of 4th of July. Like I said, a lot of people go out and try to do their dirt, under the disguise of the fireworks. So that's why it's more amped up, because a lot of people think they can get away, with this shit during, the 4th of July, because a lot of people are still out here popping fireworks, because I still hear them now to this day in my neighborhood where I live at, So, but yeah, the Chucky 777, I want to thank you for your comments, for chiming in. Definitely tune in with us tonight. We're going to be, like I said, around 8 o'clock, we're going to be discussing this topic. I have a few people that want to come in and discuss it with us. So depending on how many people want to chime in and join in with us, we may do it over on Zoom. So yeah, I'm not going to hold you guys up. I wanted to discuss this. The gun violence has definitely been out of control throughout the country, not just in Chicago, Philadelphia. It's been crazy here in Detroit, St. Louis, even especially down in Memphis. Those are one of the main hot spots, where it's been a lot of shootings and unalivings. You know what I mean? So it's throughout the country, so, and I haven't even heard any of the reports coming out of Memphis, during the 4th of July. So I can imagine, what the shootings and what it was like down there during, the 4th of July, leading up to the 4th of July and leading up to present time now. You know what I mean? So, leave you guys' comments in the chat. I'll definitely read everything and make comments back on that later. Let me know how the gun violence been in your state, in your city. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. It's your boy Dame D, and I am out. Peace.